I know this doesn't look like a big hill, but when I take new riders on this trail, this is the #1 spot that people get stuck. And when they get stuck halfway up the hill and don't know what to do, they often end up tipping over, or even worse, falling backwards, sliding down the hill, and then tip over and hit the ground even harder, which I don't want you to do. So why do people get stuck? Well, for one, they're usually looking at their front fender just a few feet in front of them because they like to see what they're riding over. But since this is a corner, if you're coming right here and you're only looking ahead 5, 10, 15 feet, you're only looking at right here. When if you were looking farther ahead, you could see right here that there's this hill coming up, and by looking ahead, you're able to build up momentum you need to get up the hill easier, but you're also able to choose the right line. And why is line selection so important, especially when riding up a hill? Well, let's say you take this line right here. It's only like 10, 12 inches off of the main line right here, but it makes it harder to get up the hill because you have less traction. It's a little bit looser dirt, and you can't use that little bit of a bank to build up your speed because your rear tire and your front tire is more likely to slide out. So when you choose the main line, the right line, the smoothest line, you're able to get both your tires on this little rut or this berm and build up that momentum faster because you're getting traction with both tires. And then the other issue is when you're not looking ahead, you start riding up the hill and realize, oh shoot, it's a steep hill, I gotta give it more gas. And then you give it more gas, but then you're not really accelerating much because you didn't realize, oh, the bike has too much power, or you don't have good throttle control, which we covered in an early episode of this beginner series. But when you have poor throttle control, especially on a race bike like a KTM 250 XC or a YZ250 FX, it doesn't take much extra throttle to break that tire loose. And it sounds cool, it looks cool shooting all that roost, but then once you're getting up that hill and your rear tire breaks loose, you stop all that momentum and then you get stuck on the hill because you're losing momentum and not accelerating. So even if you don't have the momentum to get up the hill and you need to rely on using extra throttle, extra gas to accelerate up the hill, it's even more important to have proper throttle control to smoothly apply that throttle. And what you need to do is pay attention. You have to feel through your feet and your hands what the rear wheel is doing, whether it's breaking loose or it's getting traction. If you're giving it a lot of gas and you're not feeling much acceleration, or your rear end starts to slide one way or the other, your rear tire is breaking loose and you're losing momentum. Even on a trail bike like this that doesn't have a lot of power, it has a heavy flywheel weight, so it builds up RPM slower and gives you better traction. It's still, in this soft sand, it's easy to break the rear tire loose if you don't have the momentum to start going up the hill. So you heard me rev up the engine, and I wasn't really accelerating much because the rear tire was spinning, where if I shift up to second gear, or even if I stay in first gear and I use less throttle, I was going about the same speed, but it didn't require as much throttle because almost all of that power was being put to the ground, so I could accelerate rather than just spinning the rear wheel. And remember, when you can look ahead, you can see, oh, there's a hill, I need to accelerate. Oh, that was super easy. Whereas opposed to when you're just looking at your fender, I'm kind of turning here, oh, it's flat. Oh wait, there's a hill. Dragging your feet trying to get up the hill, and it just makes it harder when you're not looking ahead, especially when the hill is extra steep and extra long. And while most of the trails here in Minnesota are relatively flat, I have come to really enjoy riding trails that have steep hills, off-camber turns. Just the elevation changes are just so much fun, just flowing up and down them, but they can be really intimidating if you don't have the confidence to ride up or down steep hills. because you're afraid you might slide back down or loop the bike out. Don't worry. Remember, start small and don't go on a trail that you know you're going to struggle with, or you know it's an expert trail and you're a beginner. You're more likely to crash or get stuck and you're going to have to turn around. And this is why I made the virtual dirt biker school, so that you can use basic techniques to quickly build up your confidence to ride basic trails, even if you don't have a place to practice or a lot of time to practice. And if you want my free basic techniques guide to quickly build your skill, I grab that at motocrosshideout.com/free lessons. And now that you know how to ride up hills without getting stuck, it's time to learn how to ride back down them without sliding down or going over the bars. So subscribe or watch the next video here, and please share this with a friend. I want you and your friend and all the beginner riders to stay safe and not get hurt right away, because they were trying to figure it out all on their own.